I'm a subjective nihilist, and today I'm going to explain you some perks of being a subjective nihilist. Ladies and gentlemen, to understand what this huge term subjective nihilist is, you first need to understand what traditional nihilism even means. Nihilism is a sense and a feeling that nothingness is the core center of universe. Your existence is negligible. Everything and anything you do won't matter. And in the end, just nothing matters. So why to bother? Everything you will do or are you thinking of doing is pointless, is useless. Then why to even do those things? Now, initially, this thought process actually invites a lot of people into believing that nihilistic thought is the true nature. Because somewhat or the other, it is factual that in the infinity of cosmic bad, your existence is pretty much negligible. And to be honest, not even negligible, you are just zero. Like tomorrow, if Earth get destroyed, nothing probably would matter. Even the solar system, if it collides or if it just directly goes out of existence, nothing would matter. Like in the overall bigger picture of cosmic bad, it doesn't matter. And so, somewhat intelligent beings start to think that nihilistic way is the way to live the life. Then nothing matters. Let's live in that way. Why to bother? Everything is pointless. Everything is useless. Well, me being a subjective nihilist, me being somewhere related to absurdist mindset, I think that if nothing matters, if nothing in this world should bother me, then let's just do whatever I can do. You know, if nothing matters, then I decide what I want to do. Nobody in the life decides what I have to do. If there is no meaning provided to me, I can do anything. I can live in my boundaries and I can be rebellious. That's what Albert Camus says. Now, this discovering your meaning or creative your meaning isn't something that's buried inside land and you have to dig up like finding a chest. It's not like that. It's something that you're creating it like an artist. Now, this is what Nietzsche saw. Nietzsche saw it coming years ago that there will be a collapse of meaning. Once people stop to believe in religious identities, religious figures, once people start to get out of societal influences, parental influences, and people start to use their brain and start to think logically, they would easily realize that there is no meaning given to them. There is no blueprint already provided for them to follow. And that's what their brain is trained to believe, to have a sort of plan, to have a sort of figure out structure of meaning in their head. And if that collapses, a human stands on a line where life provides no meaning, okay? And you need a meaning because you have an existential crisis. And that's what led to existentialism, where Nietzsche said that you have to be a Superman. You have to be that artist. He took inspiration from Richard Wagner's song and he said, you have to be that artistic guy. You have to be that Uberman. You have to be that Superman. You have to create your own meaning. Well, that's a good point. But that is a sort of very, how do I say that? You are forgetting the core structure of what life is. And that's what Albert Camus said. You won't be free anymore. It's like you got away from one belief and you started to believe another thing. So the point is that existentialism is just you had a meaning, you lost that meaning, and you created another meaning. So it's the same thing, but in a different way, in a different direction. Instead, what Albert Camus says is that let's not have a meaning. You know what I'm saying? Let's stay in that mid zone where you need a meaning and life doesn't give you one. Let's stay in that mid zone. But Albert Camus and I even thought that this leads to anxiety. What am I supposed to exactly do? Albert Camus says that's the point. You're not supposed to do anything. And that's why you can do anything. That's practically the perks of being a subjective nihilist. Now, here's the thing. Once you realize that this meaning thing or this belief structure that the world, the society, the religious figures, everything throughout your childhood till this day have completely brought you into this singular point of how life is, this meaning of life, once it breaks down, you are free. You start to realize that there is no test. There's no God above you who's seeing you all the time. There's no 8D figure who's trying to always keep a track on you. And that means you're free. You have achieved that freedom. Now, instead of creating another meaning and losing that freedom of life, why not? Let's enjoy this freedom and do anything you want. Now, that's the perk of being a subjective nihilist. What is a subjective nihilist? You understand there's nothing to life and you still choose to do random shit. You still choose to bother. You still choose to do something. You know what I'm saying? Now, Albert Camus gives this a very realistical perspective of life. Now, when I say pessimistic, which is everything is going to go bad, and so let's just wait for bad things to happen. Let's just not do anything because bad things are only going to happen. That's pessimistic way, and that's pessimistic philosophy, even more developing into Arthur Schopenhauer, and we are not going to go deep on that. But here's the point. What pessimism says is that life is going to go pessimistic. Life is going to go bad. Everything is going to happen bad. Then why not just let's just do anything? Albert Camus gives a very realistic and very practical point on this, that if there is nothing that matters, and if we want something, let's stay in the mid zone. So his point is that let's keep pushing that boulder which Sisyphus was pushing. Let's keep doing that job. Let's keep going through breakups. Let's keep making friends. Let's keep fighting with people, and let's keep crying again and again. You know, because nothing matters. And that's the perks of being a subjective nihilist. Now, when you hear this also rings a sort of alarming bell in your head that if I truly believe that I can do anything and if there is complete freedom given to me, then the moral structure is down and this and that. Well, I think, I personally, Albert Camus, I don't think he has provided a lot on this, but here's what I believe. Okay, then you think that you would, go on a killing spree or something if that's the way how you think of life. I think stay under your legal boundaries and do anything. That's the most practical answer I can give. And that's the way I follow life. I stay under my freedom and I don't cross the legal boundaries. That's it. So you can practically do anything. You know what I'm saying? So being a subjective nihilist gives you so many perks that I still go to religious occasions. I still eat their food. I still go to their religious places. I still, bow my head over there. I do everything they do. And I still enjoy my life. It's now not that my life is constructed and dedicated to that figure which I see in this religious sculptures. Now my life is free. And so I can sometimes go there. I can keep my mom happy that I'm being a religious guy. And that's the point. See, Sisyphus has to push that boulder again and again. That's how your life is. You might have to go through struggle. You might have to keep that job, that relationship, that daily grind, whatever. The point is that it's always something which you'll have to do back. And if you keep pushing, if you keep doing these tasks, that just literally means that you're being rebellious to life. You're staying in that zone where you're not going to create a fake meaning to be existential, or neither you're going in the pessimistic and complete nihilistic line. You're in between. Now the between phase has a very big problem, which is anxiety. If there is no groundwork to life, oh my God, why the hell am I existing? The nihilistic depression. And that's what I'm saying. That anxiety has to be beaten by being rebellious. You have to live life. You have to go to that job. You have to get a family, go through breakups, maybe cry a few times. That's life. And that's the best thing Albert Camus has ever said. That's like the best thing. Another best thing which he said is, in the midst of winter, I was there with me, an invincible summer. What he's trying to say is that there will be external circumstances. He here represents as there's a winter environment, but still inside me there's the summer. So he says, even though there will be these external circumstances, I will be rebellious. I will be there. I will put my internal choices and I will live that freedom of life which I got now after beating all of those ridiculous meaning and beliefs I had. Another thing which he said is, should I kill myself or have a cup of coffee? And my honest reaction to that was, I'll always choose coffee. Let's just have another coffee and think more. Let's just have another coffee and be rebellious. That's what Sisyphus is doing. And that's why Sisyphus is happy. Because he knows he has to do that. He's being rebellious. He's like, okay, I'm trying to be happy in this event also. That's just ridiculous. And that's just so good about what absurdist mindset and Camus has wrought about it. It's just that there is no inherent blueprint. And neither do you have to create again one. If you somehow get out of that meaning that you were born with, you don't have to go and create another one like how Nietzsche refers to by being a Superman. Just stay in the mid zone. Enjoy your life. Get out of that anxiety, be rebellious, live the life. Now, Albert Camus himself was a really good character as what his philosophy suggests. So typically when you hear from a philosopher, you suggest the hair gone back, the white hairs, the random ass looks, the depressed looks, cigarettes 10 to 5, everything, right? And you have this particular imagination of how a philosopher would be, depressed in life, a complete junkie sitting on the trashy corner, that kind of a thought first comes. And Albert Camus was completely opposite. I think he was one of the most charming philosophers to ever exist. Like flirting with women, being extremely charming and having that charisma. Bro even died in a car accident, in a random absurd event. So what Albert Camus says about life, and I think that was the best that, by the way, like the best way, what proved the point, everything just set in the rock. He was just driving in a car dead. What Albert Camus and being a subjective nihilist suggests is that life, no matter 50 years, 60 years, 70 years you are going to survive, it's temporary. It's temporary, it's negligible, it's nil. Now, if you get out of belief, not a lot of people get out of belief, but if you break all of those beliefs, if you remove that there is no test going on, there's no one testing you, there's no someone above who has a 3D camera behind you. If you finally understood that and don't leave that situation, then be rebellious, enjoy life. If nothing matters, then do anything. That's the point. That's the point of being so subjective in your nihilism. Now, what does pessimism say is that nothing matters, so nothing is worth doing. Well, Albert Camus says that if nothing matters, anything is worth doing. See, whenever you are a complete nihilist or a pessimist, you start to consider that lack of meaning or pointlessness of life as a prison. As a like, this is what life is and this is what I'm going to do. Now, in that temporary 70 to 50 years, instead of thinking about the cosmicness and your negligence and your nil appearance in this huge chain of events, why not just let's live those 70 years? Let's just not leave that 50 years aside and stay like a, typical philosopher attitude. Just live. Now, Nietzsche obviously provides a good point that create a meaning, be artistic about life. And I understand him, be that Superman and, be rebel. He has a good point. But the same point, You just, got out of a train. That train was full of zombies. Now, what Nietzsche is saying is that go on another train, build that train and sit on that train and drive that train. Now, Albert is like, come, sit with me on the platform. Let's have a cigarette and let's have a coffee. Let's talk about women. He's one of those guys. He's one of those chill guys. So that's, I think, everything which I could simply say about Albert Camus. Now, obviously, the typical philosophic processor, and everyone is going to be offended by this one. But that's how I live. That's how I live personally. Because I thought it's just too weird of living life. And just think about how many positive things can happen. Your social anxiety reduces to zero because you understand that this society and bullshit, whatever they're believing in, is complete BS. And so you stop believing in them and then you live your life freely. You still appear in their events. Like if I have some food out there, like a mass event where food is being distributed, I go sit there. I eat that food. Chill out. If someone says me to say a religious sentence, I say that. So the comparison, the regrets, the revenge, the envy, everything stays aside because you have understood the point that we are temporary, 70 to 50 years. At the same time, we can do anything. So that's my point. And that's how I am happy being a subjective nihilist. And these were the perks of being a subjective nihilist. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And I leave you with this question is that, what would you love to do? Would you love to construct another train and drive it on your own? Or would you love to stay on the station itself and have a cup of coffee, smoke a few cigars with Camus, and enjoy the life? That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, I leave you to it. I'll be back.